So, why do I do what I do, and why do I do it the way that I do it? It's a fair question, and here I want to provide a fair answer. So, stick around and find out why I evaluate the religious the way that I do. In fact, why do I evaluate everything the way that I do? That and more are coming up next. Not too long ago, someone posted in the comments on a video that they liked the videos of Aaron Ra and other quote-unquote pro-science YouTube commenters because they actually explained why the religious are wrong. Okay, fine. Then you know which videos that you ought to be watching. Go enjoy them. That's totally fine with me. But there's a reason why I do things that I do the way that I do them, and that's because I recognize that the religious are not going to be swayed by science. They aren't going to watch an Aaron Ra video and slap themselves in the forehead and go, "How in the world could I have been so wrong?" Because they don't care. They won't care. And I think it's important to understand what's really going on in their heads. See, as I've said many times, the religious, when it comes to their religious beliefs, they're not acting rationally. They do not operate intellectually. It isn't that they don't understand the facts. It's that they don't care about the facts. You can't just present the data to them and expect them to change their minds. You can't say, well, here's the evidence for blah, blah, blah. If you could, then there would be no creationists at all. They simply wouldn't exist. The evidence for evolution is completely overwhelming. You'd have to be a complete imbecile not to accept the evidence for evolution. And that's the problem. These people are imbeciles. Not in the sense that they can't figure it out, but in the sense that they have no interest whatsoever in figuring it out at all. It doesn't matter to them. Reality doesn't mean a thing when it comes to religion. They don't care about the facts, they only care about their feelings. So yeah, if you want to go watch a quote-unquote pro-science YouTube commenter, knock yourself out. It might be a great way for you to learn the science behind everything that the religious get wrong. And that's fine. I'm not telling you not to. It's great for everybody to educate themselves in pretty much everything. So yeah, if that's what you want to do, knock yourself out. I'm totally on board with you. But that's not really the problem when it comes to the religious. And unfortunately, it isn't just the religious who have this problem. There are an unfortunate number of people out there who, when it comes to certain ideological positions, they throw intellect right out the window. They lack the ability to examine their positions rationally. They just throw up their hands and proclaim, "Oh, my feels!" and away they go. That's why my channel isn't just about how dumb religion is. I mean, yeah, it's dumb, but that's not the core problem. The core problem that a lot of people seem to have is irrationality. It's the inability of people to step back and realize that when it comes to the facts, their feelings don't matter. They just don't. How reality makes you feel is completely irrelevant. And that goes for religion, it goes for politics, it goes for pretty much everything. Your emotional state doesn't mean anything to the real world. Life, whether you like it or not, is unfair. You don't get to make it fair by whining about it. You have to learn to accept the world that you're in, feelings be damned. You can try to make it better, and you certainly should if you can, but you have to do it intellectually. How the real world makes you feel doesn't matter. I don't care if you're comforted by the fact that the speed of light is 186,232 miles per second in a vacuum. You can't change it, you can only accept it. Your feelings don't matter. And I don't care if you wish there was a God. It doesn't matter. It only matters if there actually is one. It doesn't matter if you're happy with how life works. This is what it is, and you have to deal with it. As soon as you start to try to staple an emotionally comforting narrative onto it, you're going down the entirely wrong path. We have to evaluate the real world in realistic ways, and if we can't, then we're wrong. And I know that might cost me some followers, but I don't care. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to give up. Yes, a lot of religious zealots are never going to change their minds because they really don't care if they're right or not. You have to be realistic about this. It's why you see people going after the low-hanging fruit and celebrating when someone who is vaguely theistic admits that they can't defend some portion of their beliefs. Oh look, we've won this great victory. No, you really haven't, because the crazies are still out there, and the one that you quote-unquote deconverted didn't really care about their so-called beliefs in the first place. Now, let me know when you deconvert a, William Lane Craig or a Frank Turek. Let me know when you get the Pope to admit that Catholicism is wrong. That's going to impress me. But I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. Whether we like it or not, we have to have realistic goals and realistic expectations here. Sure, it would be great if every church out there just closed its doors tomorrow because nobody wanted to go to them anymore. That's just not a realistic expectation to have. But it is a fact that there are a lot of pastors and priests in the clergy who have realized that the garbage that they're preaching is nonsense, but they're trapped lying to people every Sunday because they've got bills to pay. So go look at the Clergy Project sometime. There are a lot of people out there who are falling away from their faith, and a fair number of them are the leadership of various churches. If you want to help people, these are people who desperately need help transitioning out of religion and into secular life. They need a place where their oratory skills can be put to a non-religious use. These are people who have realized the idiocy of religion, and they need a place to go beyond it. I mean, I'm not trying to criticize the Aaron Raws of the world because they certainly do have their place. But I don't think they're looking at the bigger picture. If religion magically vanished tomorrow, humanity would still have a problem. Irrationality is not just a religious issue. It's a human issue. People wear their emotions on their sleeves and often don't know how, nor do they care to know, how to take a step back from their feelings and deal with the facts as they are. They don't know how to think critically, and they don't want to. They don't know how to evaluate evidence on the basis of the evidence alone. They don't know how to go where the facts lead and not where their emotions dictate that they ought to lead. Some things work in the real world and some things do not. Ignoring that simple fact just because it makes you unhappy, that doesn't solve any real world issues. And none of this means that we should become unemotional robots. There is a time and a place for everything. But that doesn't mean that it's all the time and every place. Emotions have their uses. They are necessary, but they cannot be the guiding force for everything that you do in your life. We have evolved an intellect that can and should override our feelings when they get in the way. Just because you wish you could live in an eternal magical happy land, that doesn't mean that you do. Just because you wish that there was an all-powerful father figure in the sky watching out for you, that doesn't mean that there is. Just because you want life to be fair, that doesn't mean that it's going to be. You need to care what is true, and you need to determine the most likely facts based on the most objective evidence that you can. I can think of very few cases where your emotions are all that you should go with. They cause more problems than they solve, and that's why they need to be tempered with intellect and rationality. That might not make you happy, but it will make you more rational, and it will actually improve the world in the ways that really matter. And I get that's going to make a lot of people really sad. Too bad. I really don't care, because my concern is making the world a better place, a demonstrably better place. I don't care if you're happy. I don't care if you're sad. I care if we are improving the state of humanity as a whole. And that's something that you ought to care about as well, because if you don't, you are part of the problem. And that's nothing to be proud of. So anyhow, what do you think? Do you disagree with me and think that the religious just need to be told the facts and they're going to magically realize how wrong they are? Or are we facing a bigger problem than just blind ignorance? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And while you're down there, make sure you subscribe and tell your friends about the channel. We've seen some wonderful growth lately, for which I'm extremely grateful, but there's a long way to go. Unlike the religious shysters, I'm not in this for the money. People need to realize what's going on, and they need to be able to think rationally and intelligently. We can make the world a better place, but it won't happen by magic. It will only happen through education and intelligent discourse and having realistic expectations. That might not make people happy, but so what? It is what is actually so. The more people who deal with that and try to push us ahead rationally, the better off we're going to be in the long run. And from where I'm sitting, that's all that really matters.
Bum